Hi, this is Michelle in the Ida Public Library for Make an Upcycled Dollhouse Part 3. This week we're going to start decorating the interior rooms and making furniture. First thing we're going to do is make some bunk beds. We'll start decorating our house with bunk beds using corrugated cardboard. Measure the height of the room you want to put it in, trim it, then mark exactly how high you actually want your bunk bed to be. Got yourself a footboard and headboard for your bunk beds. You will want to know how wide your beds are going to be, and additionally, do you want the bottom bunk a little bit off the floor? I usually find it easiest to make one side, then trace it for the second side. That way, the two sides are exactly the same. Next, measure the depth of your room so that your beds are not too big. Add about 1/4 inch to your depth. So, if it's going randoming in the middle of the room, you just need to measure where you think the bed is going to go. Now, cut out the platforms for your mattress. They should be a smidge longer than you want them to be. Now, mark about 1/8 rectangle in the middle of each end of both bed platforms. This will be a tab to fit into that headboard and footboard. I used the scissors to cut out these tabs instead of a knife because using the knife at the end bit of cardboard like this is a little troublesome. Now make sure you have marked on the interior of both the headboard and the footboard where the platform for each bed will go. Keep in mind you will have a mattress. Then line up that platform piece right where you want it to be inserted and mark a thick line only where the tab will be inserted. So you're marking where you're going to cut it. Very carefully cut a slit into the marked line. I went over the space with the knife about 3 times right next to each other, but I didn't cut it clean out. I tested out fitting my beds into the slits. It isn't super tight, but I'm going to add glue later. I also cut out a bit of the top and a window in the lower bunk, matching for the headboard and footboard, but this is optional. When all the pieces have been cut and you have confirmed that they fit together, put some glue into a slit one at a time and insert the mattress platform. You might need to hold it for a few minutes until it sets. Repeat. Getting the second set attached was trickier than the first. Once they have set, I added more glue underneath the mattress platform to help hold it into place. Now let your glue dry for a while. Using thin cereal box style cardboard, I drew out thin ladder steps, not think ladder steps, and side rails. You could probably use corrugated cardboard here too, but it might be difficult to cut since it is so thin. You can even use just a plain scissors to cut out these steps. Glue them together, evenly spaced apart, and you have a ladder. Now for the mattresses. I do not really sew, so making a sweet little pillow style mattress is not in the cards for me. I went looking for a sponge and found a magic eraser. This was actually perfect for making mattresses as they are a good size and are super easy to cut. I sliced it in half along its thickness, which is actually really easy to do. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight as you are going to wrap it up anyway. 2 mattresses. Make sure you measure the full size of the platform you are putting the mattress on, as I made mine too long the first time and had to go back and trim it after it was already wrapped in felt. Be sure to leave a little room for the felt. I went back to my trusty felt box and found some I could wrap around the mattress. You could easily use any fabric. Cut your felt to the correct size, being sure to leave extra on the ends like wrapping a package. I then apply some glue. Warning about using hot glue with fabric of any kind. Be careful not to burn yourself. There are silicone finger protectors you can purchase on Amazon and elsewhere, but I do not have any. In the meanwhile, consider pushing your fabric down into the hot glue with a pencil eraser instead of your fingers. I then glued it down, then applied more glue on top to overlay it. I used hot glue, so it set right away. If you're using craft glue, you might need to hold it or wedge it into something to keep the felt in place while it dries, or sew it. I cut a short, straight line at all 4 corners. Next, I cut tiny triangles into the slit. Without cutting the triangle, there is just too much felt to lay down the second side. My triangles might be a bit too big, but I'm very happy with my mattresses. Now remove your mattresses and paint your bunk beds and ladder the color you want. I glued my ladder on after painting because I thought it would be easier to paint this way. If you do not like looking through the cardboard, you could always glue thin strips of cardboard to the sides to cover the corrugation. Lamp. For this bedroom lamp, I used a water bottle cap for a base. I used a sharp screw to punch a small hole in the middle of it about the size of a toothpick. Next, I found a round toothpick. Flat ones will not really work, and poked it into the hole. I found some beads with wide holes to go over the toothpick to make a pretty base. Stuck a tab of glue on top of the beads to attach a mini muffin liner to make a lampshade. You could also use another bottle cap or a creamer lid or anything that will work like a shade. I also put some hot glue underneath the lamp base to help keep the toothpick in place. Ta-da! Curtains. Kids' bedroom, I decided to use felt to make curtains. I measured my window and decided 1-inch curtains on each side would work great. There is not a picture of this next step here, but I cut 2 tiny triangles at the bottom of each panel to make a decorative border. My windows are the right size to use cotton swabs for curtain rods. If your windows are bigger, you could always just cut strips of corrugated cardboard or perhaps pieces of drinking straw. Fold your fabric over the curtain rod and glue. Once again, be careful if using hot glue. I'm certain I've lost a layer of fingerprint. I stuck wide-holed beads at the ends of the cotton swabs with glue for a decorative effect. You might be able to think of other items you could use as finials. Next, I cut thin strips of felt in a different color to become tiebacks. You could also use ribbon or skip the tiebacks altogether. To make the effect I wanted, I put a dab of glue on the middle of the back of each curtain panel and pinched it closed. I then glued my tieback at the back of the curtain. Once my curtain is dry, I can put a line of glue above the window frame, or in this case, because I made the curtain too short, right on the window frame. Ta-da! To make curtains for the parents' bedroom, I went looking for fabric in a bin I have that is labeled fabric. There isn't much in there since I am not good at sewing, but I have often kept bits of fabric I liked. Amazingly, I found this pretty silver and white super thin fabric. Panels a bit wider than 1 inch and longer than I thought I needed since I wanted these to go all the way to the floor. Then I used my scissors to make a wavy design, such as it is. My thought had been to find some pinking shears, but I wasn't sure where those were located. I glued them over the same way as the felt. Then I held them up to the window and trimmed them to the length I needed. Then I laid my line of glue, and now there are curtains here. Bed. For the double bed, I watched a YouTube video on how to make a bed out of craft sticks. First, create your headboard and footboard posts, being sure they are 2 of each and that they match each other. Next, determine how wide your bed will be and cut 2 matching sticks to serve as braces. Gluing these pieces to the posts is not easy, and I added extra glue blobs on to hold the pieces together. After those are glued, create a stick that measures the brace plus both posts for each end. Glue it on sideways, creating a little shelf on both the footboard and the headboard. Trim the rounded edges off several craft sticks, then glue the far left and far right sticks on by attaching them to the little shelf on each the headboard and the footboard. Then fill in as many as you like to make a nice mattress platform. Theoretically, you really don't have to cut the rounded edges off if you do not want to. I filled in glue in as many places as possible, though it can look a little sloppy later. I was aiming for stability. Added an extra brace or 2 at the headboard and footboard to give it height and dimension if you like. To give it a little more finished look, you can also add side rails. Let dry and you can paint if you choose. I thought about trying to sand the extra glue, but that just might make it fall apart. Best of drawers. To make this mini dresser, I used matchboxes. This is the first item I've had to purchase, but my family just doesn't use a lot of matches. Be sure to dump the matches out if you are giving this house to a child. Simply glue the boxes together, being sure to have the drawers facing up. Next, I chose a pretty cardstock to match the wallpaper. I cut it to the length of the box, then I marked each side and folded it so it wrapped around the box. Glue the paper around the box. Find some beads or other small items. Glue them on to make drawer handles. Now you have a little dresser. So far, we have a bedroom and another bedroom. Obviously, there's some additional parts that we can add to this, but this is all just taking a long time. So I'll probably be adding a few more videos onto this session. It will not end next week. The instructions for many of this furniture and many, many more pieces can be found in this book, DIY Dollhouse by Alexia Henryon. It's been very helpful. Bye for now.